We want you to know that this is not his first, second, or third mastermind, but he's been doing this for some time. We are looking forward to some time-tested truths that he is going to teach us about being an entrepreneur, about your power, about your purpose, about your presence. And with that in mind, I believe April should have received this by now. So we are graciously excited. Turn the virtual lectern over. Oh, wait, I see Suzanne. We have our immediate past president, Suzanne Leonard, online, and we're happy to hear from her. She was our immediate past president last year. I just wanted to acknowledge her as I acknowledge all other leaders, and we're looking forward to a tremendous time today. With that in mind, I'd like to turn it over to April Gillis. April Gillis was our last year's special projects manager. This year, she's working with Pathways and the new club, Edwards Professional Pace Setters, used to be called APC. April still does a ton for District 12 behind the scenes, and we are looking forward to an amazing introduction and amazing time for her. Let's invite to the virtual lectern, Madam April Gillis.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, fellow Toastmasters, entrepreneurs, and guests. I believe we do have a few guests here this morning, so welcome. Yes. We're so excited that you're here this morning. I'm so excited to introduce our meeting roles for today. We do first have our Toastmaster of the day, who you just heard from, Dr. Valencia Jones. We also have our timer for the day, Mr. Bond Wang, if you would raise your hand. Thank you. He's a past area director and division director, and he will be taking pictures, so make sure to smile and stay engaged. Yes, thank you so much, Bond. We have our mastermind leader for today, Mr. Randy Powell. I've had the opportunity to witness how he transforms your mind. He draws you in, not just in an online setting, but in person as well. I'm so excited, and I encourage you to grab your pen, grab your paper, and please be prepared to be engaged. You think you know what you're ready for, but he has a way of tapping into your mind, tapping into the unasked questions that you need to know in order to unlock your purpose, your passion, and your power. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce our mastermind leader for today, the one and only Mr. Randy Powell.
Well, excuse me, everybody. I appreciate it. Now, what I had to do was I had to go out to come back because it looks like I may have a little bit of an unstable connection. So first question is, even though I see myself moving, everyone on the screen is frozen, but can you see me right now?
Yes, we can see you.
Yes.
Okay, and am I waving at you right now?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to bring up a second computer because I want to be able to see you guys because I think it's really, really important. So bear with me one quick second as I bring up the second computer, just in case. You know, they say you always have to have a plan B. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So I'm trying to see if this second computer will allow me to launch. And it's doing that, and it's asking me for the secret code, so I'm doing that. And if I'm typing fast and correctly enough, it looks like it will let me in. Let's see here. In the meantime, I'm going to have you think about something. It's just going to take a second. The meaning of mastermind.
Recording in progress.
So I'm up. Can you guys, now you're going to hear an echo for just a quick second. Can you guys see me right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to mute one. And now I've got a backup plan because why don't you guys wave at me? All right. So I'm going to turn this down. One quick second. So there's no echo. Okay. Do you guys have an echo?
No, we do not.
And tell me how many hands I have up.
2.
And it is so awesome to see Dr. LaWanna Parker on, and Emily and Suzanne Leonard and Mr. Contara and Taya. I see you on LinkedIn, girl. I see your stuff. And Nez, I don't know you yet, but you're going to get to know me. And hello, Miss Frankie Jones and Charles and Bond and Valencia. I know that you're a traveler. You went over and you represented District 12 and Deborah. And I cannot pronounce Merritt. Is it Mer? Why don't you, Miss Brown, why don't you tell me how? Pronounce your first name.
Maria too.
All right, awesome. And I'm going to ask you guys to do a couple things for me. I'm going to ask you to work with me, and I'm going to share some information. And if you get nervous or you feel a little pull, a little tug on you, let me just share with you, first of all, that that's part of the process. That's part of being connected to a mastermind. And I'm going to ask you some questions. And there's some things called hot seats, and you might feel your bottom getting a little warm. And that's okay, because that's stretching you, and that's pulling on you, and that's making you think about some things that you may not think about or want to think about. You know, the ostrich effect has to do with burying our heads rather than bringing our heads out and looking at the world around us and really checking our reality. So all of this stuff is going to happen, and it's going to happen in a very short period of time. Now, I run a mastermind, as you all know, and we've shared that with you. We've invited you to come over, and someday you will when you're brave enough and you're ready. But in the meantime, I'm going to give you a little taste of the 40 minutes that we have together, and you're going to feel like you're on a roller coaster, but then there's going to be some moments there where you just slow down, and you're really going to have to think. And like she said, put some pen to paper, because you're not going to want to not do that. If you really are an entrepreneur, speaker, coach, or consultant, you're going to, whether it's my mastermind or somebody else's mastermind, it does not matter. You're going to want to be involved in a mastermind full time. And I'll tell you why. It's a part of Think and Grow Rich. How many of you ever read the book Think and Grow Rich? And how many of you read it just because of the title? Be honest, raise your hand. At first, that's what I did. Now, here's where the first hot seat comes in. I'm going to slow down for a quick second, and I'm going to ask you to not answer out, but to really think about this. If you know that you've read the book, I don't even care if it's just a summary. If you've read it, thought about it, heard it spoken about, and you ever went on your own and truly read it and analyzed it and really tried to understand what was being said and what had been written, now raise your right hand. Now I'm going to ask you a question on top of that question. If your keep your hand up, because we want to see who you are. All right. Now, if your left hand was on the Bible, would that make you nervous? If the answer is no, you're good to go. Does that rhyme? If your answer was no, you're good to go. All right. So here, how cool is it that we have dedicated this kind of time to a mastermind? Can I get an amen? Yes.
Yay.
Most clubs don't have the courage to carve out time, and they're not even thinking in advanced mode about doing something like this. So I want to praise you and raise you and tell you this is really cool. By a show of hands, and keep them up. Raise your hand, your right hand, if you've ever implemented one single thing that you've heard during a mastermind session inside of Entrepreneurs Toastmaster Club that you have actually implemented, you've taken to the next level, you've used, you've contemplated more than just hearing it and leaving here and not doing anything with it. Raise your right hand if you've done that. Okay, so for those of you who have not, there's only 3 or 4, maybe 5 reasons why you have not. And let me cover that with you right now. There can only be a few reasons. Maybe this is your first time at the Entrepreneurs Toastmaster Club Master Meeting session, because they only happen on the months where there are 5 meetings, which is really not enough, in my humble opinion. Number 2, you didn't catch it. If you were there and you were listening, maybe you weren't really listening. You were focused on something else in the room, in your environment. And that means you weren't fully engaged. So that means you didn't catch it. That's the second reason. The third reason is Maybe you weren't in the room. Sometimes we have to go to the bathroom, excuse ourselves. Sometimes we go get another drink, our ice is melting. There might have been a reason why you weren't in the room. The fourth reason is didn't think that anything that we were talking about applied to you. That's hard for me to understand and believe, but I tell you, that could be a reason. And the fifth thing is that you're all good. Let me repeat this and slow down now because you may not have caught everything that I've just shared with you. The fifth reason that you haven't implemented, used, taken to heart, taken this information and shared it and used it in your own life or business at this point is because you're all good. In your mind, you're good and you don't need the tips, the tricks, the information, the knowledge sharing. You just don't need it. You're good. That means that you're on full track to achieve your greatest dreams in life, and there's nothing of value that you can get from any other single person, group, organization, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that's a mouthful. So the reason I'm bringing all this up is to set you up for success and to say to you, we all need information, knowledge, and other people, because we can't possibly store it all in our own brains. Dr. Lawana Parker, is that a truth or is that not? Yeah, she said it. She forgot to unmute, but that's okay. So I've got some information here I want to share with you. Here's another general question. Would you agree that for us, because if we're going to have a quick conversation about a mastermind and we're going to talk about purpose, passion, and power, and don't let me forget, because those are the three things that we're going to talk about, and I'm very in tune with purpose, passion, and power, and maybe you are, but I'm going to help you tune up just a little bit more. But we all have to be on the same page in order to communicate ideas and share information and have knowledge exchange. Would you all agree? Talia, would you agree? So let me ask you this. Would you agree then that for us to communicate effectively, that we would have to be on the same page, at least from the perspective of language and definitions? Can I get a witness on that? We have to be able to have a understanding of language and be on the same page and be able to communicate. So if I was speaking Swahili, and unless everybody here spoke that same language, we wouldn't communicate very well, would we? We might be able to do some gesturing and things like that, but we would be missing a lot of the information. So there are at least three things that you need to know from the purpose, or for the purpose of this discussion, this quick discussion, this high-powered discussion today. And number one is that the purpose of a mastermind session or group, you need to know what that is. The second thing is that there are three things that you must do in order to achieve success. If you truly want success, and that's success as defined by you, the individual, not by me, not by somebody else, not by your grandparents or your mom and dad and brothers and sisters and what they're doing, how you define success for yourself. And then the third thing is, what does it take to be or to become successful? You notice I said, what does it take to be and to become? Because we have to be, and we also have to become somebody we're not today. And we have to have that mindset. Now, I'm going to share with you, fill in the blanks for those three things that I just asked you, that I just spoke to you about. The purpose of a mastermind, real simply, as a group, of like-minded people, is to stretch and pull you in various ways so that while you're learning and growing, you are being challenged, and that can cause you to become uncomfortable. And it's in our uncomfortableness that we grow, that we actually that we become that extraordinary person that we want to be. The second thing, now, maybe you haven't heard of Les Brown, but I'm just going to tell you what he says, that if you want to become successful, you must also do these three things. You must change your mindset. You must practice only quality people. Now, I'm going to pause there, because in a mastermind, if it's a really good mastermind, you will surround yourself with OQP, as Les Brown says, only quality people. I'll also remind you that if you read the book Think and Grow Rich, one of the principles is to set yourself into a mastermind group. Raise your hand if you remember that. One of the principles is to set yourself into a mastermind group. Now, I didn't say that. Somebody else said it. The third thing Les Brown says is to develop your communication skills. You must develop your communication skills. And number 3, it takes courage to be successful. It takes courage to be successful, to be different, to go where people aren't willing to go, to win, and to take the hits while you're winning, because there are going to be people showing up that when you're winning, they're going to be attacking you. It takes courage to show up here today. So those are the things, as we back out of that, that it takes to become who you want to become. So what's so powerful about the 3 P's of success in a general perspective? If you don't know your purpose, then you're not going to create the passion, and with no passion, there's no power. So that's the general link. Purpose leads to passion, passion leads to power. Now, how do we interpret that? Let me ask you this question. How many of you know your purpose? And when I say purpose, what I mean by purpose is your life's purpose at this point in your life. If you had all the basics covered, and this is what I share with my clients. If you had food, shelter, and clothing, let me say that again, food, shelter, and clothing, so your basics were covered, what would you be doing with the rest of your life? And if your answer begins with, I would be doing exactly what I'm doing now, you probably are living your purpose. There may be some definement going on. There may be some, but if the basics of life were covered and you still are doing what you're doing, what else is there? And I want you to contemplate that. Because all the other stuff other than food, shelter, clothing, I mean, of course, we talk about love and companionship and all that, but your basic 3 is covered. Would you still be doing what you're doing? And if the answer is yes, I say you need to amplify it. You need to accelerate it. We talk about it, that in the mastermind as one of our power words: amplify, accelerate. And I'll say the 3rd one for later. Okay. Now, I gave you a hint as where you could start. A lot of people, when they're talking about their purpose, they make it too complicated and they struggle with it. And so what I do is I have people start very simply. Who am I? Just like we do in Toastmasters when we are introducing ourselves for the first time. We usually talk about who we are, where we come from, what our family's made of, etc., because it's comfortable for us. But when you start to define your purpose, it needs to be uncomfortable until you become comfortable with it. So you really need to dig down and ask yourself some tough questions. And those are the 3 tough questions that at least you can start with. Now, I'm going to ask somebody to raise their hand if they have the courage to share with us, if they would like to. If they know their purpose, can you simplify it and share with us very quickly what your purpose is? Anybody want to try? Anybody want to share? Frankie Jones, Miss Frankie Jones, we'd love to hear from you.
I'm still working it out on the verbiage,
Mm-hmm.
but I know for certain that I am wonderfully created to serve and inspire.
Awesome.
And that's a lot of what I do in my life. So I'm living a lot on purpose.
That's really cool. And when, let me share something with you guys too. And nobody can tell you when you arrive at that point. It took me a long time as I studied it and really went and self-reflected and dug down deep and struggled with it. It took me a year actually to really figure it out. But when you do, you become, it's not about money. It's not about the things that you can buy and purchase and go share with other people. It's all about the internal. We have to change inside first before we can change anything on the outside. Before we can have a grand effect on the universe, we have to become the person that we need to be. And when you get there, you're going to feel joy and happiness and fulfillment, and et cetera, et cetera. And people are going to be looking at you like, what does that person have? Because I want it. And you have probably witnessed that in your own lives. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't. You have walked into a room and seen someone and was attracted to that person, and that person just had this energy about them and all that because they knew where they were going. and they knew their purpose and they're working through it, and you can feel it and you can see it and you can experience it, and you want some of it, but you don't know how to articulate it. You don't know how or why, but you're attracted to that person. That's when you know that you see something that should cause you to stop and go, what am I missing here? And I want that for each and every one of you, whether you get it here in this club, whether you're working on it outside the club, whether you somehow someday come to the Envision Success Mastermind. Doesn't matter how you get it, but you really ought to work on getting it, because when you do, and I'm not suggesting that you're not happy and fulfilled right now, but imagine if the lid was off, how much better life would be. And yes, of course, you have to pay attention to the basics of what you're doing, but all that falls into place. With that comes the idea of passion. And passion is something much deeper than a lot of people give credit to. They don't give credence to it. So I'm going to ask Miss Reed on the spot, put her on the hot seat, and ask her to help us understand very quickly from her perspective, what is passion?
Okay, so I believe passion is rooted in a habit that it's an automatic. It's a drive. It's something that you consistently think about and you tweak and you imagine and you create and you decide. So I'll stop there.
Awesome. And let me share a little bit more on that real quick. Passion is grit. And when you see someone who has grit, that is a person who has decided for themselves that they are going to do X, whatever that is, live their purpose, like Frankie was saying. And that grit is the perseverance that allows them and fuels them to keep them in the game of pursuit of what it is they're going for. If you can't persevere when the chips are down, anybody can be happy and go lucky when things are going well. But not everyone can be happy and go lucky and hold their chin up high when the roof is caving in on them, when the ground is sinking below their feet, when the hair is on fire, when they don't have enough food and drink, but they don't have the courage to say someone and to ask for help. Perseverance gives them that grit, and grit evolves into that perseverance. And you have to have that to go after what it is you dream of. You have to have perseverance. You have to be able to pull yourself through the weeds of life, because when you are doing the right thing for you, when you are living the right thing for you, you are going to have roadblocks and things get in the way and knock you down. And you have to know that ahead of time and be willing to have the courage to continue on. And I think Dr. Parker knows that. I think Suzanne Leonard knows that. I think Deborah's learning that. I think April's learning that. I know Charles knows that. I know Frankie Jones knows that. And Bon Wang, he's a living example of somebody who's not letting anything knock him down, and life will knock you down, and you got to be able to get up. That's what perseverance does. Now, the third one is power. Power, and I don't mean power like the hurricane that's happening, that kind of power. I mean the power of the spoken word. We don't give enough to the power of the spoken word. Speaking well plays a part in your success and happiness. As Les Brown says, the moment you open your mouth, people know who you are. You tell the world who you are. And it doesn't mean that we can't have fun and use some slang once in a while and be around our peeps and hang out. But the reality is when we are training, when we are teaching, when we are communicating at work, when we're communicating with our peers, we have to use the language that's appropriate for the audience. Would you agree? And so if I'm speaking to first graders, like Miss Suzanne Leonard is doing now, she cannot speak to first graders the way we're having this conversation today. Emily, would you agree? Yeah. But if she was speaking to another Toastmasters group, her language and her conversation would be much different. And so we have to understand the power, and we have to shift our power dependent on who we are, who we're engaging, where we are, what we're talking about, and also be sensitive, because once we understand the power of our words, we really start to unlock and understand how we can influence people. And you can influence people. Power can be used in a negative way. And as you know, it can certainly be used in a positive way. And it can hurt people. It can hurt society. It can heal people. It can heal society. Would you agree on that? Something else about the spoken word, and I want you guys to take this away. And part of this is in Think and Grow Rich. Part of this, if you've read it, you understand it, is that obviously the subconscious mind is where our power lies as human beings. And if we understand that, if we can truly grasp and understand the power of the subconscious, we would watch the words that we speak to ourselves first every single day. Why? Because everything I say to myself, eventually over time through repetition, creates my reality. If I am beating myself down, if I am telling myself this is never going to work, I'm never going to get this, I'm never going to achieve that, people don't like me, people are judging me, all of that is going to become my reality, and that's going to become my life. And if that's the life you're looking to live, you don't have to work hard. But if you're looking to create success, if you're looking to create happiness and fulfillment and reach your goals and your dream and all that good stuff, then you're going to have to change your inner voice, your inner conversation with yourself first. And that's the biggest battle that we have. So the moment you start thinking and speaking poorly about yourself to yourself, you are creating damage internally. And we need to understand that and know that and think about that all the time, because that battle never stops. It just doesn't. I could be having a really, really good day, and tomorrow something happened, throws me off. And if I don't watch myself, if I don't get up in the morning and say the same things to me that I say to myself and say out loud in the morning and speak to myself, my first conversation in my world starts by being grateful and showing gratitude and talking to my creator, who I believe is my creator. And I give you the honor and right to believe what you want to believe for yourself. Because when we're no longer on this planet, it doesn't matter what other people think of us and all that good stuff. It's what we are in here taking with us wherever it is that next reality is for us. So in my corner, I speak to my belief first, and then I ask for the right power to add value to everything that I'm doing and putting out to the universe, which includes all my clients, all my contacts, all my people, anybody I run into. And if you do that, I can tell you, you're going to go out after the day and you're going to see people who are unhappy. You're going to feel they're unhappy. You're going to see people have a lot on their mind. And if you start off with a smile, even if they don't smile back, 95% of them will smile right back. But if you see somebody who's not happy and you know they're not, and you smile and you greet them good. And I'll tell you what I did the other day. I was in Old Town. I went down to Starbucks to get some coffee. My wife was running, and a guy is in his truck, and he wasn't looking bad. It was a brand new truck, and on the tailgate, he had some awesome advertising. And he had a big QR code. He had a big phone number. I parked in front of him. I got out of the car and I went up, and his truck window was half open. And I said, "That's the way you advertise." And he looked at me and I said, Do you know how many times I have seen somebody on the road and I want to take the picture at the stoplight because I needed the plumbing services or I need that, and you can barely read the phone number when they're advertising and all that. And I said, that's the way you advertise. He's like, yeah, thank you, man. And his whole demeanor changed just because of that not even a 2-minute interaction. So I know that if you give good stuff out and you smile at people, and even if things aren't 100% going your way, but if you change that for that quick second, even you'll feel better. That's the power of the spoken word. Now, with that power comes the body language and all the stuff that we're taught in Toastmasters when we're communicating, but it's the power of the word that magnifies. It tantalizes. It increases the goodness that's coming out of you. It amplifies it. All right. Any questions so far? So we got passion, we got purpose, and we got power. So let's start with purpose real quick. It's something that provides direction. If you don't have a purpose, then you don't know where you're going. You're never going to arrive. So you have to get clarity of purpose. So work on it if you don't know. I mean, I know you guys are doing a lot of stuff, but where's that stuff where's the inroad? Where are you going with it? You have to know where you're going with it. How will you know that you even succeeded? I have a client in Los Angeles. They are very successful, but he doesn't feel successful. And why does he not feel successful? If I was looking at him, which I am, because he's a client of mine, everything you see, he's got a great marriage, he's got a great business, blah, blah, blah. But in here, and it's because he never defined what success would look like before he arrived. Let me say that again and I'll slow down. If you don't define success, what it means to you, before you go chasing it, before you go trying to attract it. Some people like to chase success. Some people like to attract success. I say it's easier to attract it. But the point is, if you don't know what success would mean, what it would look and feel like, key words, what would success look and feel like? I didn't say what money feels like. I didn't say gold, silver. I said, what would it look visually and feel like? How would you know when you arrive? You wouldn't. You would just keep going, and you'd never give yourself the credit for reaching your goal, your destination. And you could say, well, I'm not done yet. I'm not dead yet. Good. I'm glad. And I don't want you to die anytime soon. But when you get there, you need to know that you've done everything you were supposed to do. You're depleted and you're ready. You're ready because you've done what you were supposed to be doing. And you're happy and joyful and successful, and all that stuff comes with it. But if you don't define success beforehand, purpose allows you to think through that, to think through what direction am I going, what's motivating me, what's my focus, and it builds confidence. When you know someone and you see that they have purpose, that they know where they're going, they're going to be confident no matter what. I haven't seen a successful person that wasn't confident yet, and maybe you know somebody who's successful and they're just not confident. And if they're not, there's a problem, because if they're not confident, they're probably not going to be very happy. And I didn't say cocky, I said confident. And so when we talk about passion fuels your dedication, the perseverance, and the willingness to work to improve. If you don't have perseverance, then you might get there and go, I'm good. Wasn't that the fifth reason why some people, I'm good, I don't need anything else? Okay, well, I'm happy for you if you truly feel that way. But if you have this burning desire inside of you and you know there's more to life than what you're doing right now, then that means you're still on the pathway. You're still heading in the direction, but you need to make sure that you're going in the right direction. Because if you jump in the car right now and you say you're going to Florida, but you go north, guess what? You're not going to get to Florida. Not unless you go to Seattle and fly to Florida, but some way you're going to have to change direction. So you got to know where you're going. I wouldn't want to go to Florida right now. And the power provides with us the ability to take action. Taking action because we're afraid. We're scared. We're this, that. In fact, let me share with you on my whiteboard the common fears that must be shed before we ever get there. Where's there? Arrive at the success we're talking about, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot. No, nobody should fool you. If somebody says, oh, success is easy, we use easy in terms of marketing, but it's not easy. So when you hear somebody, I say easy. Yeah, because I want to make it easy for you. That's why I'm going along with you on this guided tour to help you get where you want to go, because maybe I've done some things that makes it easier, but it's not easy. But here, fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of the loss of a love, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. Those are the 5 fears. What I say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the 5 fears that we have to overcome. We have to get right with, get good with. And how do you get good with death? Well, I don't know for you, but when I saw that and I put it up on the board, I thought, I don't have a problem with any of these, because I didn't grow up rich, so I'm not afraid of poverty. I don't care if people like me, love me. I want them to, but that's not going to stop me from completing my mission. That's not going to throw a curveball at me big enough or a snowball at me big enough, because I know my purpose. So that's not going to be my simple purpose, to add value to people's lives, because I've been given a second chance. My business purpose is I help people create the courage to get unstuck. And they're stuck in a lot of different ways. So it's a general term to help people get unstuck so they can go live the life they want, achieve the success they believe they deserve. But when I look at here and I go loss of love, we've all suffered loss of love. You got to understand that that's a part of life, and you got to get good with it. You got to get okay with it. You got to get to a point where you know that's a part of life. And fear of old age. I'm already old and I'm having fun. I don't care. Okay? I have no problem saying I'm 68 years old and I'm on fire. I love me some Randy Powell. You have got to love some Emily. Emily, there's one day you're going to wake up, you're going to be 60 years old. Nez, same for you. Deborah, same thing for you. Bond, same thing for you if you're not already 60. And guess what? It is good stuff, because we have burnt our fingers on the fire enough times to know better. We know how to still dance and sing and enjoy life. And guess what? We got some good stuff up here too, okay? It's embedded in there. You can't take it from us. God has provided. So here's the thing. If you wait, I got a buddy goes, oh, I'm getting, my best friend. I love him to death. But I'm getting old. My birthday is this Friday. I'm turning 69. I'm okay. You got to be right with it. And guess what? There are a whole lot of people that didn't make it here. Okay? And I pray for them, and I'm sad for them and all that. But that means I'm not done. I got a mission. And death, most of you don't. God bless you, Frankie. And most of you don't know this, but I had and maybe some of you have been there, somebody I had a near-death experience with asthma many, many years ago. And I remember, and sometimes I share it, I haven't shared it a lot in my keynote speeches because it hasn't been applicable, but I remember laying there and thinking and having a conversation with my creator. And at the time, my kids were young and really young. And I said to him, if you would just let me see my kids my boys grow up to be the fine young men that I really, truly hope they will become, then I'm ready. And I had this conversation with them. And sometimes I've used it a few times when appropriate in my keynote talks. Oh, thank you, Susan. She sent me a happy birthday. But the point is, I was given a second chance, and my life changed from that point. And there's other points where your life will change. When I joined Toastmasters, my life changed. I'm going to be speaking at the Speakers Bureau and talking about how do you go from novice to noteworthy. In other words, how do you go from nobody knowing that you could even open your mouth to become a paid speaker? So there's a lot going on. If you notice, my coach, Cheryl Rouse, was one of the major sponsors of the internationals. That didn't just happen overnight. Cheryl had been preparing herself to be in a position to sponsor the internationals for years. You think she just all of a sudden said, oh, I'm going to be a major sponsor to the internationals? Oh, nothing happens overnight. So we have to prepare ourselves every day for the good stuff that's going to come to us. And we attract that. Okay. And if our true goal is to use the power that we have, the ability to take action and influence others in a positive way and help them overcome their obstacles, then our obstacles will seem to be lowered. They'll be lowered. They won't go away. But as much as we can help other people, each other in this mastermind, in any group of like-minded people who are looking to do good for others, it's not just doing good for yourself, because if that's the trap you're in, you got to spin out of that. It's how do you serve others to the highest ability that you have, give them the best of what you have, and attract them to you. And then you can do more, you can drive change. And you can do it ethically, you can do it fair, and it leads you to a place sometimes where you didn't even think you could go. Any questions so far? And I think we only have a few minutes left because I know this is only 40 minutes, but are there any questions that I could answer about a mastermind, about purpose, power, or position? Purpose, passion, power, positioning yourself for success. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Randy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
This is Dr. Valencia. I first want to say thank you so much for the presentation thus far. And my question for you is, you spoke a lot about grit.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's someone online that maybe feels like they don't have that or they want that, how would you have them go about obtaining grit or teaching someone how to obtain grit, that relentless pursuit? Share that with us, please.
Yeah, I think one of the first things, if somebody's lacking the perseverance, if they've been beat up, knocked down, and so forth, one of the things that I do, I'll give you an example. Thank you. When it comes to coaching, one of the things, and you would be amazed how many people as adults and they so-called looked at as being successful still are struggling on the inside. And I know Tanya probably understands that. But what I do is I always bring up their past, because we are a lot of product of our past. And so the word gremlins is something that I use because gremlins, you know, if you picture gremlins, they're these little characters that aren't pleasant to look at. But we all have them, we all live with them. And it's a matter of acknowledging what our gremlins are. And those are the things, the negative things that have been programmed in us or happened to us when we were young. And I use that as a visual, and we have to learn to accept them, understand it, accept that it happened or that we were programmed a certain way, and understand how in our younger years, whether it's childhood or teenage years or whatever, our developmental years, how that manifests itself into us as adults. And once we understand the connection, we can reassign those gremlins to have a positive role in our lives currently rather than a negative. And what that allows us to do is gives us the power back rather than being used and abused by these negative influences and things that have happened in the past. Now it gives us the power to recognize that we can achieve and do and become, and that's not us. That's not who we were. We might have been exposed to it. We might have been taught that. It might have been programmed in us, but that's not who we are today. And so we reassign those negative voices and those negative things, and we give them a new role in our life. So for example, if something is saying you're not good enough, you change that gremlin's role into getting in front of a mirror and talking to yourself about how good you are because your maker made you perfectly in the image, in his image. So you reprogram your current mindset. Does that make sense? And so that gives you the power to persevere by doing that. But that's a process. Yeah.
I'll share the information. Thank you so much.
I hope that helps. Anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bond has a question?
Yes. Randy, it's clear to me these 3 P's lead to success in principle, in concept. However, in practice or in reality, how can I be sure I'm on the right path over these 3 P's. Let me break down among these 3 P's. I think only one thing is clear for me is the passion.
Okay.
I know I have passion over something. I work on that over the day in and day out. But how can I be sure I'm on the right purpose or I have power over that duty I'm doing? Maybe that power ends up like it's a dragon. It's a slug for me. I just don't really have power. Or this purpose is right for me at this time or going forward. Shall I tweak my purpose or stop right in the middle of my efforts? Otherwise, that's a waste of time. Only passion, I'm sure about that, because I have an addiction, I have an obsession, not doing that, then doing that. But how can I be sure I'm on the right purpose and power? Thank you.
Okay, and that's a question that it does pop up. It pops up a lot. First of all, when you think of, I would not suggest anybody here change anything they're doing. So that would be like me saying to April, stop your business and jump into another business. Let's call it High Wire Act or something. That's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about you doing the exact same things you're doing right now, but talking to yourself about what else is there? Is there anything else in my life that I should be doing that I'm not doing? And pay attention to that and really look at that on a continuing basis, because there are a lot of things you could be doing, but are you doing the thing that's going to bring you the greatest joy and happiness and success? And if you are the happiest you think you could possibly be, then I would say you're on the right track. Now you just need to define in words what that means to you as far as your purpose. So for example, for me, obviously I know that speaking and coaching is not only what I love to do, it's what I was put here to do. But I did a lot of things throughout my careers. Notice I said careers. I had 5 different careers. So it took me all these years up to the last 10 years to get to a point where I know that this is what I'm going to be doing from here throughout the end of my life. And I know that my overriding purpose is to add value to people's lives. How do I do that? I do that through speaking and coaching, because I have decided that adding value to people's lives is the highest honor that we could do. So now you take that and you take where your gifts and talents are and you formulate, am I doing what I should be doing based on my overriding purpose in life? And that's how you get to that. And it's a process. It's a process. When you talk about power, the power of the spoken word, you have power over. If I say raise your left hand, you have the power to raise your left hand, right? Bond, right? If I ask you to raise both hands, you have the power to raise both hands. So if you have the power to raise both hands, who has the power of the spoken word as it comes out of you? You do. So you already have the power, but it's how you choose to use that power, and it's whether you recognize the power of the spoken word. So you already have that power. That power turns into energy. When you speak, when you go back to hear Martin Luther King's speech, the power in the words that come out of his mouth when he's speaking energizes people. So when you energize people, when you move people, when you influence people, when you help people through the power of your word, you already recognize that you are using and have the power. So that is power. When you can move people in a direction that is good for them, then you have the power. So you already have it. You just have to recognize that you have it and then learn to use it in an appropriate way. So it's very hard to get through all that in this shorter section, but I will remind you that we're going to be talking about this at the live event on the 29th. I'm going to share that information with you guys as we move forward at the end of the month over here in Marietta, California. We have an expert coming in that talks about Think and Grow Rich. We also have somebody Esther Fafla is going to be speaking. And she's going to be speaking to that. I don't know if you all know her, but she's going to be speaking to that. And then we have an expert in marketing that owns a company in San Diego called Rebel Marketing. She's going to be speaking. And then we have 2 outstanding guest speakers in the afternoon. We have, we have Craig Duswalt coming in, and we also have James Barber. James Barber is an award-winning actor He played the Beast in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, and he also played the Phantom and Phantom of the Opera. So all these awesome people are coming in to help share more about not just Think and Grow Rich, the power of the spoken word in the afternoon with James Barber and Craig Duswell. So I say all that to say more is coming, but if you really want to elevate yourself, think about using these masterminds and really extrapolating out of these masterminds what you can, and consider how else can I get more of this good stuff. This is Randy Powell. Thank you so much. I don't want to go over. I know this is a lot to squeeze in, but that is it for today. There's a lot more, but that's it. I don't have any more time. And it's so wonderful to be a part of this club. And I think I owe my dues soon too, or I should have already paid them, but I'll get that. I'll get with Roz on that. Thank you so much.
Let's give Randy Powell one more round of applause.
Yay. Thank you,
And the words
Randy.
that he shared
Woohoo.
about
Unmute.
purpose, power.
Yes.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Randy.
As we transition to Madam April Gillis, our general evaluator, I would like each of you to try your best to put something in the chat, one word in the chat that you can think about as a result of his presentation. Maybe that could be a little bit of his feedback. And now, again, I would like to transition it over to our general evaluator so that her and the timer can give their report. Madam April.
Thank you so much, Dr. Valencia, for that opportunity. And thank you so much, Mr. Randy Powell, for this dynamic mastermind session. I have so many notes to share in a short amount of time, so I will start from the top of our overall evaluation of the meeting. Our meeting started on time. We had 14 members already in the room at 7 a.m. before the meeting started. And if you're a part of any other 7 a.m. clubs, I know the ones that I'm a part of, that is amazing. Everybody was on, ready to go. So I'm so excited for that. Thank you so much, Frankie, for setting the tone as our Sergeant at Arms, starting us with our Pledge of Allegiance. And I love how you encouraged us to mute ourselves so we didn't have a cacophony. I've never heard it described that way. That was amazing. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Madam President, for setting the tone of the meeting following that, receiving the baton, acknowledging our current and past leaders as we're still in a place of transition for our club. That was amazing. And thank you for keeping us up to date on what's happening in the district. It's so important that we know what's going on. As Randy shared with us, it's so important to know where we're going. We're all a part of Toastmasters. We're all a part of this global organization. So we have the opportunity to know what's happening around us and how we can continue to have influence in our district. With our mastermind this morning, I hope that you had pen and paper. I think I had a pen and a pencil just in case my ink ran out, and I used all of them. Mr. Powell, you gave us a dynamic. I know it was a sampling. I can feel that it was a sampling of all that you have in you, of passion, purpose, and power. And those 3 Ps really just spoke in a way that I don't know if we really understand what came together. When I saw that our theme was mastermind, I was so excited. As you mentioned in Think and Grow Rich, he talks about it being when you have a collective of minds coming together, you get a greater sum than the number of people in the room, that there's a force that happens. And today, that happened with your leadership. So thank you so much. Some notes that I took away that you talked to us about, again, our purpose, our passion, our grit, our power. You talked about perseverance. And I think all of us have experienced perseverance, as you said, in one of my favorite books, in the book of James, he talks about count it all joy when we have perseverance. You shared about your own perseverance, and that was really important. Something else that I loved before you started is, I don't know if people picked up, but Mr. Pablo, he spoke to everyone in the room. He called everyone by name. We're in a virtual setting, but he made us feel like we were at a round table with him, that we were sitting in the room with him. And that was very important for us to all feel acknowledged. With the mastermind, it's important that we all open up our mind and we share our collective power. And I believe that was a very special touch that he was able to do. I watched everyone sitting close. Some people were pondering, thinking, taking it all in. And I know they'll be going back to listen to the recordings so that they can really take notes. Some people were actively taking notes. I saw Emily with her notes in hand, like myself, and I saw others with their notes in hand, like ourselves. I appreciated, Mr. Powell, as well, that you shared some of the things that you overcame. I appreciate that you talked about grit when Bon asked about it, about asthma and what that did for you, and how you started to tap in that pivotal point that allowed you to transition and to say, you know what, I want to live for my sons. I want to see them grow. So there were so many gems again that you shared. This mastermind of purpose, passion, and power, the power of our spoken word. You showed us that you're not only talking about it, but you're living it. You had your words on your board that you look at every day. You talked about the importance of us speaking to ourselves repetitively, about talking to our creator first. So you gave us an order. There was so much, again, that you gave to us. And I'm so excited. I don't know, I'm sure you have books already and handouts. And so I encourage anyone who is connected with Mr. Powell to make sure to connect, because this was probably about 5 different books right here that he gave us today. And the quality of what you gave us, the power of the mastermind, again, the greater sum of the collective mind coming together. I believe that we truly experienced that today. I love that we did have time for questions and for comments, and I hope everyone takes the opportunity to ask Mr. Powell questions in the chat. Get those questions answered, because you have in front of you, I was taught early on, if you have someone in front of you who knows more than you, make sure you have pen and paper. And we all get to sit in the front of a room with you today, but make sure that you don't leave the room with those questions unanswered. I remember learning about burning desire. Randy, Mr. Powell, you came in this morning with burning desire. You had a technical difficulty, but you were already prepared. You had a second computer already ready. So your burning desire had you ready, had you prepared to make sure that there were no roadblocks that was going to stop this mastermind from going forward. So again, overall, thank you so much for the opportunity to listen, to participate in the mastermind this morning. Thank you to all of our members and guests for coming, for participating, for engaging, whether taking notes, whether leaning in, even Susan while driving. Thank you so much to all of our leaders. Thank you so much to our Madam President for setting the tone, and our Sergeant at Arms again for starting us on time. Each one of you are so important. And Mr. Powell, you hit a home run today. I don't think I'm being timed, so I'm going to go ahead and end right here and ask for our official timers report from our amazing timer, Mr. Bond Wang, before we close out.
Yes, thank you, Madam General Evaluator. For the first thing, my apologies from this amazing timer. What happened was I forgot to time general evaluation, but April, I'm sure you are in good hand about timing. And regarding the major session mastermind, Randy started the session at 7:09. I gave him the green light at 7:47 and gave him the yellow at 7:50. I stopped timing since that point. I think he really very much on time, and I appreciate Randy paid attention throughout the whole time and very much on time. I really don't want the session stop because I enjoy that so much. But about timing, we did great. Thank you. Back to April.
Thank you so much. This concludes my role as general evaluator, and thank you so much, Madam President. My evaluation time is 7 minutes and 14 seconds. I love this club. We keep each other covered. We work together as a team. So I'll now return control of our meeting to our president and current club growth program quality director. Excuse me, got to get used to the transition seasoning happening here to close us out. Thank you so much, and I look forward to our next meeting. Madam President.
Thank you very much, Madam April. And now I see a few guests. Would any of you like to unmute? Because we do have time for guests. We want to take time out for guest comments if they are any. There's always that teacher time called wait time.
I would just say that I truly enjoyed your presentation today, and you hit several points as far as I'm concerned that I have experienced. And I love the one where you talked about changing someone. I personally experienced that because I made the decision when I left the phone company that I would smile, because people will always say, "Are you angry? Are you upset?" So I thought I was smiling. And what that did for me was that I no longer had to worry about how to start a conversation with people, because people started it with me. And it always seemed to make someone happy, even when they looked like they were upset. So that is a major thing that you talked about.
Dr. LaWanda. And if I don't see any other guests, I would like to leave the club with the closing thoughts till next week.
Frankie
Shalyn?
has her hand up.
I just wanted to make a quick comment about, Randy, you talked to us about our subconscious mind and how powerful it is in our life. And I'm a great believer that we really need to monitor our self-talk. But I find myself also monitoring other people's self-talk. And I think I encourage all of you, when you hear someone talking themselves down or saying something that's from a negative point of view, just ask them, hey, can we reword that? Because it makes them aware at the time. I call myself a thought monitor because I seem to pick up on it a lot. Maybe it's my inner critic, I don't know, but it's like, no, I don't want to hear you saying that about you. I don't want you to own that in your life, because that's not who you are, that type of thing. So if you hear that from other people, just ask them, hey, can we say that a little bit differently? That was all I wanted to say.
Good job. Emily is our guest.
Frankie.
I don't know if she wants to say anything, but if you could put your email in the chat box, we'd love to reach out to you again. Okay. And I see Susan has her hand up.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm driving on the 5, and this relates very well to what Randy said about grit and perseverance. I had a destination this morning in Fashion Island, and despite all the traffic, I'm still going. I'm almost there. And what I noticed is that we, as entrepreneurs, do not necessarily have a roadmap when we start out with whatever venture we happen to partake in. And as a fellow mentor, I want to stress the importance it is to have a mentor or someone who's been where you are trying to go and to do what you want to do. So I really appreciated what Randy said about grit and perseverance, because there was so many times that I had so many roadblocks. I could be so close. It could be like 0.08 points to get to my next grade, my next term in law school. And that could stop me from going forward. But I talk to myself and I say, you know what? I'm going to prove to myself I am better at exams than I think I am. So what I did was on Sunday, I signed up for a life insurance. Well, I signed up to take the life insurance exam, and I took it yesterday. And I want to remind you how amazing our minds can be. Is that I spent about maybe an hour studying. I took the exam yesterday.
You're on mute, Susan.
I have not done insurance before. So I just wanted to tell you, when you put your mind to it and you have a mentor, you can get there. Thank you. I hope you all were able to hear that. Didn't get cut off.
We were.
Okay.
Thank you. As you talked about being a mentor and putting your mind to it. And Frankie talked about the subconscious mind. We are grateful for each of our guests and our members for being here. I know that our time says ending at 8 o'clock and it is now 8:09, so we're about to end. But the executive club is having conversations about possibly having, since the meeting is twice a month, going until 8:15. So just know that that may be a voted item soon and in the future. With that in mind, we thank each one of you for being here today, and we would like to close with a closing thought. The closing thought says, challenges are gifts that force us to search for a new center of gravity. Don't fight them. Just find a new way to stand. And that entrepreneur is Madam Oprah Winfrey. Thank you very much. Find a new way to stand. I will put it in the chat so that people can see it here and remember it, and have a wonderful day. Bye for now, or stay on for now. Linger longer.
Linger longer. Yes. Taya and I are wearing our new merchandise.
I saw
Some
that.
of you
I
noticed.
found her. I
Thank you
went.
so much for the private
Look nice.
comments. We're very excited about it. Thank you. And Randy is like my mentor. You know, I've mentioned it many times. He has been encouraging me for years to write a book. Randy, Taya and I will get that done. I promise you.